I'm Graham Kingsley, and I'm the Technical Director at Theatre Calgary. I tend to think of a technical director as the project manager for a theatrical production. So we tend to look at a lot of what goes on behind the scenes, the lighting, the sound, the set, the costumes, making sure that all of the pieces come together, making sure that each individual department has what they need to do their job to their best abilities. The crew is required to bring a lot of their own safety gear, so everyone's required to have their own steel toes when they come on stage. A lot of our crew also prefer to bring their own personal gear, such as hard hats. Some even have their own harnesses, but generally speaking, we provide anything besides the steel-toed boots. So we've got a whole assortment of hard hats, harnesses, hearing protection, eye protection, to make sure that there's no question everyone's got it, whatever they need. We have a number of different practices and policies in place to make sure that we kind of have a consistent safety standard here in the workplace. So we will start every day with a safety meeting or a toolbox chat with the crew, particularly on stage, where we'll discuss the hazards and anything that's particular to that day, whether there's people working overhead or heavy things in the air, holes in the floor, because they do change day by day, hour by hour. So we often will discuss what those particulars are. Yeah, there's all sorts of hazards and risks involved with the work that we do on stage, right up from the first day that we start installing the show until the day it closes and we start striking the set. Some of the obvious ones are, heavy things overhead and things flying in and out with scenery, hazards like tripping and falling over at the edge of a stage or a raised platform. Those are the most common ones that we come up against, but there can be all sorts of them. Strain injuries from lifting, it can be handling a hot light that has a burn hazard. We use all sorts of cutting tools and saws, so there's a risk of cuts and abrasions there, even a risk of electrocution working with lighting and sound equipment. One of the biggest hazards when we're running a show is that it is very dark backstage, and if you come from a bright space like the green room or one of the scenery shops into the backstage, you sometimes have to take a moment to let your eyes adjust so that you're not going to suddenly walk into someone running through the backstage. We implement a lot of safety measures backstage, both for the safety of the cast as well as the crew. There's tape lines on the floors and hazard markers. We have lots of cameras set up for particular moments, like moving scenery, so that we can see it from just the right angle to make sure that someone's not in the way of things. There's a lot of redundancy and just physically people watching the show, but also we try to predict where hazards are going to be. So every edge of a stair that's backstage is well marked. There's lots of blue lighting backstage so that it doesn't impact what happens on stage, but gives us enough visibility backstage. One of the things that's not always super visible from the audience, but becomes really obvious in a blackout, is that we have glow tape all over the stage. So right here you can see these edges have glow corners so that an actor knows that that's where the stair is. When we're in a blackout scenario, it can be really hard to identify what that edge looks like. And so this makes sure that it's really obvious that, those are the edges of the staircase and that's where you need to step if you're going down the stairs. One of the particular things on beaches is that there's a lot of automation of scenery. We have a great deal of motors in the air and in the side of the stage that are moving LED walls and set pieces and curtains, and they all move quite quickly, particularly during scene changes when actors are focused on doing a lot of other things like getting couches off the stage. So we have a lot of different systems and ways to monitor that and to make sure that it's safe. First and foremost, the whole system is built atop an emergency stop system, so that if at any point something were to go wrong, the operator could just remove their hand and the system will shut down, as well as an emergency stop button that will stop anything from moving further. Here we have the orchestra pit net installed. It's a net that protects both those people on the stage from falling in, as well as our beloved orchestra who's down below from anything that may fall on them. So it's kind of a two-way street to make sure that everyone's safe. It's an engineered net that is capable of stopping a person from falling on it. No, I have not jumped on it yet, but it does look like the sort of fun that you only want to have once.